Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week. So keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose. Thanks for downloading another episode of the ThunderCast. You can follow us on Twitter at ThunderCast_pod. Listen to the show anywhere you like to listen to your favorite podcast. And of course, when you're watching us, again, you have already found a ThunderCast YouTube channel. But if you wouldn't mind, if it's your first time here, click that subscribe button. Make sure you send the link to the show to another herd fan or your friends so we can continue to grow the listener base and do more of the cool stuff that we get to do for you, the herd fan. Because we sure have a hell of a lot of fun. KD and Jed back once again to bring you some things this week and to go around the herd. Good to have you back another week, Jed. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good, man. Good to be back. Like I was telling you off air a little bit, just been a bit of a busy week, but man, it's always good to take time to sit down, talk herd athletics, and love it. So
yeah,
ready for it, man. Great way to wind down the day.
I know it has been. I'm with you. Again, we talked about how busy the week is, and it has been busy on both sides of this podcast this evening. So it's been a long week. I'm ready to talk a little herd. Just I think a lot of the folks that are going to be listening right now are like, yeah, man, can we get away from the grind of the everyday life and just escape into the thundering abyss for a little bit? Yeah, you sure can. And in case you have to listen to this on your way to that last day of work, maybe it helps Friday get a little bit quicker because, hey, man, we're a day late this week, but better late than never, bro.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's pay a couple of bills here, and then we'll get into the thick of things because there is a lot of stuff, including some big-time late-breaking news that if you've been away from social media or haven't paid attention to herd athletics today, Thursday, we're going to break some news for you, but pretty cool stuff. So let's pay some bills. We'll be right back with you.
If you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com.
Jed, it has become somewhat of a habit. It is not a true 5 things this week because we had to add some things here in the past couple of hours because of this late-breaking coolness. So let's get a word from ignite.link as we get some things going on.
And now, here are at least 5 things every herd fan needs to know this week. As always, brought to you by ignite.link, the Tri-State's premier IT management team.
Jed, I think the thumbnail for this episode is going to give it away, but your number one thing this week, Sydney Burko is your new single-season home run record holder for herd softball in the series opener this weekend against James Madison this afternoon. She hit 2 home runs to not only tie the record, but now stand alone atop the single-season home run category with her 20th and now 21st. Her first homer of the game tied Maya Stevenson and Sage Pye, 2019 and 2022, respectively, for the all-time lead. And just a few innings later, she sent another one out of the yard to stand alone atop the list with her 21st home run of the year. 2 games still left to go in the regular season, plus SBC tournament, plus anything else that may or may not come after that. But she now stands alone. And as a side note, this week, named by Softball America as the 12th best third baseman in the country. A lot of major love for this mid-major program. Sid Burko absolutely smoking the softball today to become a record holder.
Yeah, we should call this the 5 things, or the 5 things presented by Sid Burko. I think it should be this should be her 5 things, and just everything should be a thing about her. I know that I've read the notes, so I know it's not, but it should be, man. How cool is that? We talked about this last week, man, that she had some opportunities with the remainder of the season going into, Sunbelt Conference play, maybe into an NCAA tournament bid potentially, to be able to do this, man. And she did it with I mean, obviously she's going to have more opportunity now to just blow this record out of the water, man. And I'm really glad that she was able to get it done early, because now she's going to be the trendsetter. She's going to, the record's hers. She's going to set it for future softball players here at Marshall to, that's the goal, right? That's, how can we get there?
Well, we talked about this also last week. How cool would it be if she was able to break the record at the dot, and she did, series opener, 2 out of the yard today to set and break the record. And I'm not trying to steal any thunder away from Burko, because this is a big deal, but we also mentioned Ava Blake was in striking distance of also getting into that upper echelon of single season home runs. She sent 1 out of the yard today too. So 17 on the season for her. Of course, Burko moved 2 out over the fence. So moved the goalpost a little bit, but still Blake was able to notch a little closer up the list. I think now 1 more would put her tied for 5th, because Burko's now at 21. But both of them, well, Blake is still very much in the hunt for, I don't know, maybe she can get to 20. Who knows, right? But very, very, very cool. And then to get some national love about being one of the best third basemen in the country. Great season. This is an all-time great season for Sid Burko, and it ain't done yet, homie.
It ain't over.
It ain't done. Keeping with softball, they're going to go 1-2 on the things this week, because equally as big news, if not bigger news, I think Burko gets the number 1 slot because it's a record. But had that not happened today, this would have been our number 1 thing. And it's Herd softball outfielder, senior Bella Gerlach. Is going to get another year to play. And she came out just yesterday and said, I ain't going nowhere. I'm staying right in Huntington. I'm finishing my career with the Herd. And this is going to be a massive piece to Coach Zirkle's squad next season. And I think it's really awesome that there ain't going to be no portal talk. There ain't going to be no will she, won't she. She's right where she needs to be in her eyes, and she's going to finish out her career with the Marshall Thundering Herd. And now we can start to have that conversation of campus legend discussion. She's already a great player. Finishing your career and remaining loyal to the Herd is something that puts you in that definite conversation. You gotta love that, man. 2027 is already looking like a great year for Herd softball. We ain't done yet.
Yeah, the season's not even over, and I mean that's crazy, especially in this age of the portal and NIL and all the people jumping around, and you don't know what your season or your team is going to look like year to year. To have somebody before the season's over, let alone Sun Belt tournament, hopefully potentially NCAA tournament, to already say, this is home. This is where I'm going to play. This is where I'm going to ride this out. Man, it's so rare these days to see something like that. And that's, like you said, that puts you in the category of Herd legend. And, why not? You could go take your last year and maybe do okay somewhere else. You may get some money, but here, she's never going to have to buy a drink anywhere in this town again. You know what I mean? Like that's really cool. And that's really cool that she's staying, and fans love that. And that's not forgotten. That's not forgotten on the fan base either. So very cool. And you're already starting to stack for next year. So
yeah. And let's look at that just through a quick lens. Yeah, you could go somewhere. She's definitely talented enough there would be suitors lined up. If she were to announce going into the portal, there would be suitors galore for her services in one final year. But they got a really good thing going in Huntington. Right. I mean, if you're wanting to play for a championship, well, they're kind of doing that. If you're hoping to make an NCAA tournament, well, there's really strong chance they could be doing that too. So at that point, what are you doing? You're going for a little bit of a payday, maybe? Well, it's not always all about money to everyone, and sometimes there are things that just mean more. And there's an inkling here that, we preach this Herd family thing all the time. And it's not just us on this show. It's the fan base. It's the university. It's the athletic department. It's everybody that preaches herd family because it's true. It's one of those things that exists. And I think that has a stronger pull than any kind of potential NIL anything that might be out there for Bella. And as a selfish herd fan, I am pumped to have her back. This takes me back to a few years ago when it was Grace Chelleman that announced, "Hey, I'm coming back," and we were like, "Ooh, this is a big piece for then Megan Smith Lions team," and they went on and had that great 45 win season. She was a piece of that, and it was a big piece of that. And I get that same feeling right now with Bella Gerlach announcing she's coming back. She's going to be a vital piece to success for next year. It's huge news across the athletic department if you look at it that way.
Yeah, and it's somebody you can get behind too. Somebody who's been here. The stories. It's easy to root for. So we've talked about this before in previous episodes. It's hard to get behind somebody when you only know them for 6 months and then they're gone. Or barely a year and then they're gone. But when you know these players and you can the name on the back of the jersey and you followed the career and it's cool. As a fan, it's really awesome. We really are appreciative of it.
And to boot, she's a star player. That's what makes it, it's like, it's not just, somebody that's sticking around. She would have tons of options. It's just very, very cool. This is a springboard already to a 2027 that is already shaping up to be strong already based on recruiting and things like that, and players that should be returning, could be returning, hopefully are returning, Let's go to number 3. We're finally gonna break away from the softball things 12 minutes into this episode. Number 3, track and field records were set or tied this weekend. Joey Blowbaum breaks the men's 200-meter record from all the way back in 1981, held by Joe Sassler with a time of 21 seconds flat. Ryan Mukhtar tied Jamie Burgess's 1995 men's high jump record with a jump of 2.12 meters. So more and more weekly things, records being broken, the record book for herd track and field being written and rewritten. This is nothing new, man, but it's damn sure cool every time we get to talk about it.
Yeah, it sure is. And this is, how many weeks in a row that they've made the things, right?
All of them? I don't know.
every of the week, like and that's great, man. It's, obviously we're highlighting, all the programs and everything, inside of herd athletics, but when we're highlighting things in the things and you are something that's constantly there, it means you're doing something because it's worth talking about, right? It's worth having its own line item that we're going to sit here, discuss and talk about. And man, how cool is it that, here we are yet again discussing this, records being broken, and things like that, man. So super cool. Really, really proud of these guys and really cool what they're doing.
It's funny to me that it's been a running joke, but it's not a joke, but it turned into a thing. It got its own life, right? Because I kept using that term differentiator anytime it was about athletics and academics as it related to Marshall. Well, the word that keeps coming to mind now than when we talk about track and field, because like you said, how many weeks have they appeared as a thing and this and that and all that? It's consistency. And I'm not sure that this year, across the entire, that's a big program. That's a lot of athletes, and it's not like, yes, they're a team, but it's also individuals that also compete as a team. So it's unlike kind of any of the other sports that we have, swim and dive's kind of that way. They're individuals, but they're also competing as a team. I guess you could say tennis and you could say golf, but those are smaller teams. This is a huge program. Yeah. And to have that level of consistency across this large of a team and program for the entirety of this season and into last season, spring and fall, is pretty freaking awesome. So I mean, I hate to keep like sounding like a broken record, but track and field just continues to break records. But yeah, the word consistency is what keeps coming into my mind every
Yeah.
time we talk about them, because it's something new,
Right.
something else. And it's very, very, very impressive when you sit back and look
Yeah.
at it.
Oh, absolutely it is. I need to get a whiteboard in here so I can write Katie's words of wisdom. Up here we'll have differentiator, consistency.
Wow,
I'm
man.
gonna make a list. I'm gonna get a
Turn
list
into
going
like
here.
a damn team building exercise or something like that.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, all of the listener base just falls asleep because nobody wants a team building exercise.
Right.
Jeez.
Make a
You're
motivation.
talking like a true business owner here, man. All right. Number 4, something that may be of interest to many herd fans in the wake of the events surrounding swim and dive. Also caught in the crossfire of that was the sport of stunt being added to the Marshall Athletic Department, and there's been a timeline announced for the addition of stunt. And now follow me here. Here's what's about to happen. This summer of 2026, the target is to hire the coach to run the program. In the fall of 2026, the facility enhancements, along with the beginnings of the recruiting efforts, are going to happen. And then in the fall of 2027 should be our initial roster of 30. The spring of 2028 should be the inaugural season for stunt. The fall of 2028 is the hope of expanding the roster to 45. And then finally in the fall of 2029, the hope is to expand the roster to the maximum of 65. Now, will that happen? Who knows? I don't know if there are any, I'm not trying to throw shade here. I just have no clue if there are any stunt teams across the country that are actually at 65 roster spots. But that is the announced timeline. So we could look for a movement and announcements starting to be made in the summer of 26. Who will be the first coach? What facilities are going to be enhanced? The recruiting efforts will ramp up, yada, yada, yada. And then we will finally start competition in the spring of 2028. So if you're down with stunt and you're excited about that being added to the athletic department, there's your initial timeline for the startup of the program.
Yeah, it's good for that to come out. You know, we're going to be adding student athletes. It looks like within a year, right? Well, within a year and a half, a little less than a year and a half. You know, you're getting hopefully 30 new student athletes. You know, coming into the herd. So that's something else for us to talk about. Something else to be put in the thing and talk about around the herd. And I'm, interested to see how this progresses and if they're able to meet this timeline. So, yeah.
Well, the important thing, I think, is that you are pushing to add women's roster spots, which pushes you closer to compliance with Title IX. And we've been through all this in former episodes. Yeah. There are no athletic departments that we know of across the country that are in full compliance with their roster spots and population, how it breaks down in percentages and how it should work. But at least we're trying to get closer to that. And we know that. I'm not sitting here saying that we are going to be perfect at it, but they're making an effort to chip away and become a little closer to where it needs to be. And I'm sure if they could wave a magic wand and make it happen, they would make it happen, right? But we know it's not that easy. It's very much a business. This is a dollars and cents game that we're playing here, and there's a lot of moving parts that go into this. But if you can add 30 and then another 15 and then hopefully another 20 within the next 3.5 years, I don't think that's something to be mad at. That would be very impressive if you could add 65 more women's athletes to the Marshall Athletic Department. I don't know that it'll happen, but it's a cool thing to shoot for.
Yeah, and I don't know if and I don't know the answer to this. Is why I'm asking. With swim and dive staying currently, and adding stunt with 65, does that get them to compliance?
I don't think so. I don't remember the numbers. It was off. I don't know how many roster spots it was. I don't want to say some egregious number and then have somebody go, no, no, no. Like if I said, oh, I think we were off by 200, and then somebody go, no, we were not. I just don't know what it is. I don't remember. But there were some graphics that were floating around during the window where swim and dive wasn't, and then before it was again. So somebody had put together some graphics, and they were out there, and I'm sure you could find them if you were so inclined to look. But you're right. What was swim and dive was like what, 28 or 32 athletes or something like that. So think about that. That's going to remain. And if they can get back to full capacity or as close as they can, let's just use round numbers of 30. And if you can get to 40 or 50, that's 80, 80 plus,
Right.
and you're plus 50 because you had those before. You lost swim and dive. You had that team before. So you're plus 50 at that point, and that's still pretty cool, man. I mean, you probably got work to do. I am going to say this. If they go, you know what, we need to add another sport. Dude, I'm thinking they need to go for that women's flag football because that looked pretty cool. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I don't know how many spots that would be. I have no idea how expensive that would be, but that would be pretty cool to have that at as part of our athletic department.
And that's an emerging sport, and
right.
So, and they've done this a couple of years, and man, we're going off on a tangent now, but they've done this for a couple of years now. But my daughter did flag football. It was as a YMCA thing that they did. This was last year, but they've been doing it for the last couple of years, I believe. And they've been doing it. It's been very popular. And so my daughter played, and I was like, huh. Yeah, because we're a big soccer family, right? Like all my kids play soccer. We're committed to it. And I watched her play. She's an athletic kid, and watched her play some flag football. And I was like, she could probably do something like that. Like, that'd be really cool if that was an option that they could play in high school, even, that'd be really cool. So getting to see that. I never thought anything about flag football other than, playing touch football as a kid growing up with friends or some iteration of it. But it's a growing trend, man. I'd be really cool.
It's an emerging sport. I remember back in the infancy of the Thundercast, we did a show and we talked about like if we were able to add a sport to the athletic department, and it was just Russ and I, and we were just bouncing it, and we each chose one men's sport and one women's sport that we could add that we, and I thought, man, I think I chose like wrestling for men, and then I can't remember what I chose for women, but I remember during the course of like looking at stuff like that and trending things, like women's wrestling at that time was a very popular emerging sport. And I thought, that would be something really unique. But this flag football idea seems like something that just would catch a crowd. Like instead of being in a gym, you know what I mean? Like you would be outdoors. You could be at the Joan or wherever they would play. Maybe they would play like, I don't know, the Vet or something like that. I don't know. But it seems like that would be really exciting and embraced in a town like Huntington.
Right. Now,
that'd be cool.
Now, do they play that flag football? Is that a spring sport or is it a fall sport, just like regular football?
That's a good question. I don't know, because the Big 12 just adopted that. So I'm sure we could nose around an article and it would probably say
find out,
if it would be a spring sport or a fall sport. But nonetheless, if you find yourself needing to add another sport, that would be one to maybe consider.
And it's a low cost too, because you're thinking about cost. It's not, it's not let me back. It's not as high cost as some sports might be, because you're not playing with pads,
right,
and things like that. So,
right.
I mean, I don't know if do they play with helmets at that? I mean, because I know
no, I don't think so.
Like these leagues, it's just because you're not.
I mean, they might wear something akin to like those Guardian caps, just in case you bump heads. You know what I mean? You got some protection, but it's not like full contact. So
right? Yeah,
I think it'd be pretty cool. I think it would be. Let's launch a fact-finding mission to see if that
let's do
would be worth our while.
It'd be cool to go to
Anyway.
the Joan in the spring. Let's say it was a spring sport. It'd be cool to go to the Joan in the spring
Yeah.
and watch some flag football.
Yeah, it would be. I just can't imagine that would be 100 yards, though.
Yeah, that I
It
don't
feels
know.
like that would be like an arena football type thing, like a 50-yard field or something like that. But I don't know. I just think it would be cool to watch and go check out. Honestly, it's just a reason to tailgate and see some live action sports.
Right.
But anyway,
right.
if you were interested in stunt, now you have a timeline.
So, according to Gemini, because I just Googled it real quick, women's flag football is primarily a spring sport at the high school and collegiate level. So you would have football. You'd have football in the fall and football in the spring.
There you go. Hey, man.
So you could use the gym.
Maybe the spring football game could kick off the spring women's season. Who knows? And it's a whole big weekend, a whole big thing. You get a.
So to Brad and Gerald, I know you guys are avid listeners of this podcast weekly. Here's the idea, Katie and Jed. We'll help you. We'll help you build it. All right.
Remember that think tank thing we were talking about last week?
Yeah.
I'm full of them. I'm saying I'm full of them.
You've got a lot of them.
I do.
I like it.
It's got a couple of nuts and bolts still kicking around in the old nog up there. All right, number 5, Jed. Cam Smith, herd safety Cam Smith, was invited to attend the rookie mini camp with the Kansas City Chiefs. And not to be outdone, former wide receiver Floyd Lacey will be attending rookie mini camp with the New England Patriots. So a couple of herd guys getting an opportunity at the league. Got to be excited about that. I will tell you this. I'm kind of surprised that I did not see, and if it happened, I still didn't see it. I really thought I would see Boogie Trotter's name floating around out there for some sort of invite. He had a great year. That kid is uber athletic. I just thought that somebody would be in need enough to give that guy an opportunity, man. So maybe it'll still come, but for now we know Cam Smith and Floyd Lacey are both going to get an opportunity at upcoming rookie mini camps with their respective locales.
Well, and that's what you want to see, man. You got to see a guy like Mike Green go to the NFL, get drafted. We've got several guys that have been able to go to these camps, make rosters and things like that. So, sure. I mean, that's what you want to see, man. You want to see your guys when they get an opportunity at the next level, get their shot, get their opportunity. And, we'll definitely be following those guys and hopefully they can make a roster somewhere.
I think Cam Smith is the type of guy that can, and Floyd, they're both guys that can stick on a roster. Floyd Lacey is very, very electric with the football in his hands. Good Lord, we saw him out of the backfield and in the receiving game with Marshall. He was a do-it-all player and easily the most versatile player on the offense last year. He's just got an opportunity to stick. Those guys that can make plays like that just can make it. And Cam Smith reminds me a lot, even though they're different type players, but he reminds me a lot of the journey of J.J. Roberts. J.J. was one of those guys, undrafted free agent. And what happened to him? He comes down here to Tampa Bay and sticks the roster, So he got dinged up last year and didn't get to play and I think went on IR, but still he was signed to a multi-year deal. So the injury didn't even derail him. So I'm looking forward to the 26-27 season in Tampa down. I am by no means a Bucs fan. My roots run back so deep. I'm a Packers fan, and I recall when the Bucs were in the same division as the Packers because they were an outlier and just added them up there with Chicago, Detroit, and Minnesota. So I really have a deep disdain for the Bucs. But at the same time, if there's a player for the herd that played, like I was rooting my tail off for Vinny Curry when he was there. I was rooting for Byron when he was coaching there. And I'm going to root for JJ as long as he's there. So, but these pathways to the NFL are very similar. Both high-performing safeties, hard hitters, nose for the football, in on all kinds of plays, going to get an opportunity. And if he's in the right spot, he can stick. All he needs is a couple of opportunities to show what he can do. But proud of those guys and obviously hoping the best one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Number 6, the commitment train continues. The portal is still open for the herd from last week. The portal giveth, it continue to giveth for herd men's basketball. Big week picking up 2 more out of the portal. Transfer 6'7", 225-pound guard. Hello. Colt Langdon comes over from NC State, and 6'8", 215-pound guard Luke Rasmussen from Tulane. Langdon was a freshman at NC State and has at least 3 years to play. Could be more. We'll see. Rasmussen has at least 2. And to go along with that, a couple of guys became official with Herd basketball as they signed on the dotted line. So we reported on Keenan Gillio last week, and who was the other one? Fazil Oshodi, both official now, signed, sealed, and delivered to Herdman's basketball. Very busy and productive couple of weeks out of the portal for Corny Jackson.
Yeah, it looks so. I mean, you got a guy who played NC State, so you got a guy who played in the ACC. You got a guy from Tulane, played in the American. 2 conferences that are no slouches in basketball. So, you've got guys that, have been through some good, they've been at least that level of a program, bringing those guys in. And 6'7", 6'8" guards. Holy cow. And they've got some weight to them too. That's seems like a pretty good pickup. Don't know much about those guys, but I mean, I think these 2 seem like a good pickup, if you ask me.
Well, if Corny wants them, then they obviously can play some ball, because there's a certain style of play that he wants to play in Huntington, and those guys have to fit that. And obviously they do, or he wouldn't have wasted time and energy and resources on recruiting them to Huntington. My only real question is, Jed, does Corny have a need for about a 5'8", 100 and something pound, 40-something-year-old guy that cannot play basketball, but I can foul the hell out of somebody? If you got fouls to give, I'm your guy.
Hey, yeah, that was me, man. I could do that.
Roasts me when he talks about he asked about, like, when I was in junior high and high school, playing. Yeah. I didn't play in high school, first of all. I went to DuPont, for crying out loud. There were some pretty decent athletes that went there. A couple of guys you may have heard of that, played that.
Dude, I heard it was down between you and Jason. Like, it was between you and him who was going to get that spot on the team, and it's just he eked you out.
Right. So, but no, my son roasts me because he would ask, like, what did what was your role? And I'd be like, I was at the very end of the bench, and they, somebody was like lighting our team up. They'd be like, get in there and foul that guy, man. try to slow that guy down. I was nothing but 5 fouls to give. That's it. Yeah. That's all I was there for. What do you say we walk across the parking lot from the dot and enter the Jack and get to thing number 7? Bryce Blevins has tied the all-time career wins record for Marshall baseball with his 20th in the complete game win over Troy. One more, and Bryce Blevins will stand alone atop the heap. But right now, tied for the all-time, not single season, all-time wins record for the Herd.
Yeah, man. And he's a guy that's been in the things. He's been Sunbelt Player of the Week, over the last couple of years. Just a baller, man. I mean, great pitcher. And again, in a season where we've not really performed at a level that we thought we would, this is a guy that we knew was going to be a standout player, and he's doing standout things. So very cool. He's got he's got a few more opportunities to break that record, and why not? Let's see a softball record broken and a baseball record broken. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, very, very cool. I first saw Bryce when he was about 13, because he's a local area kid. He's from just across the river there in Kentucky, but he's always been around. He's played in some travel leagues in Huntington, and that's where I first came in contact with him, because he and my son played on a 13U team together for the Huntington Hounds a decade ago. So and then my son quit playing ball and doing that sort of thing. We moved to Florida, that whole thing, and then I didn't really think anything of it until he was recruited and then ultimately committed to the Herd. And I was like, hey, I know that guy.
Yeah.
And then to have him continually perform, continually stack wins, and now here he is at least for a share of the record. is pretty cool, man. You know, a kid with local ties, been in and around Huntington his entire life. Very, very cool. That kid is so easy to pull for. I mean, he is so easy to root for. It doesn't get old, man. When he's dialed in and he is feeling it, and you'll see some clips from the game, or they'll post something from a game, or he'll get a big strikeout, man. It's just you. He looks like type of guy that his team feeds off of, you know, and I love that about him. So I would love to see him get one more, two more, however many more he gets, however many more starts he has. I hope that's how many more wins he can get, because I'd really like to see him push this record like 22-23 if he can. That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
All right, eighth and final thing this week, tennis. Hello, what about tennis? They almost did it, Jed. Again, I said it might be a good time to go on a run. Damn it, they almost did it.
You've got something going on, man.
Several tennis players received conference awards this week. Polina Juminic named SBC Freshman of the Year, finished 14-2, and was the number 2 singles in the conference. Johanna Strom, all-timer, was on the all first team All SBC, and Juminic was named to the All SBC singles second team. And Strom and Alina Mokrzyńska were named to the All SBC doubles second team. So pretty decorated accolades, postseason accolades for the Herd, who entered that SBC tournament as the 10 seed. So like we said, this was a good team. They just came out on the short side of a couple of matches that pushed that seeding down. But you can see here the proof is in the pudding. Freshman of the Year, an All SBC performer, a second teamer, and then one of our doubles teams also All SBC. It was there. It was just that much, you know, couldn't get it.
Right. Hey, how about you just run that Layer 1 ad real quick? Because this is my first Around the Herd segment. So just run that ad real quick. Let's keep talking tennis real quick.
Okay. Well, let's see. We can do that. We're going to take you around the Herd.
Yeah.
And now, Layer 1 Solutions, your experts in business connectivity infrastructure, takes you around the Herd.
We're starting with tennis.
We're so smooth with this, man. It's like seamless. Golly.
Just taking it right to tennis, man. So, okay, let's talk about, because I wanted to talk about, you already alluded to it. So I was like, I want to go ahead and talk about it. But yeah, got in as the 10th seed. And Katie called it last week. It was like, why don't they just go on a run? Just like the women did in the WNIT.
Damn it, man.
Just go on a little bit of a run. Why not? And they did. They went on a run, beat 7th seed Louisiana, and then upset 2nd seed South Alabama. Then took care of business against App State, the 6th seed, and just OD freaking you.
Good, man. They're good.
They're good. And so second year in the row losing to ODU in the championship. But man, what a freaking run, man. That was awesome.
I know.
You called it.
I think folks were probably sitting back all season long listening to us talk about tennis and go, yeah, right, man. You just got sunshine pumping and it's just not happening this year. And it's like, man, we're just so close. And then I mean, you can't call Old Dominion a buzzsaw, because I swear I think it's like their 4th straight league title. You know, they're good. Yeah. They're really good year in and year out. This is not by accident. They recruit women's tennis unbelievably well. You know, their whole tennis program, like they have men's tennis. We do not, right? So there's an investment there in their program, and it shows. And I'm not saying that we don't invest in our program, but I'm saying like it's a point of emphasis in their athletic department, much like soccer is for us, right? Like Old Dominion doesn't really do much for us in soccer. Well, same tennis, right? But to go in as the number 10 seed, they eked in there, and then just see, they're like, all right, bet. And then 3 days later, we're playing for a conference championship, and you just happen to go against the, defending conference champion who really didn't lose a step. They're just good. But great season. That's the way to end the season. I mean, that's as good as you can do without winning the whole damn thing.
Right. Yeah.
Like kind of backed into the tournament. And then once the lights came on for the SBC championships, it was on. I mean, how cool. Very cool.
Very cool. I mean, very impressive. This was a team that kind of struggled at times, but has the talent. They have, they had the talent to win and to make that run and make it back to the championship. And they did. It's just they just had to go through a little bit of a gauntlet to do it. So it's, I don't know how tennis match. I'm sure it's similar to when you're playing a sport like basketball and things like that, and you've got to run, day after day after day, and the exhaustion has to play a part on that last day. When you're playing, especially you're playing a team as good as ODU.
Yeah, somebody that good. Yeah.
So that's got to play a part. And I'm not gonna say they ran out of gas or anything like that, because I don't know, but this team was a good team, and
yeah, it didn't seem like they ran out of gas. It just seemed like they ran into a superior opponent, top to bottom. That's all.
So, and you'll have that. I mean, but hey, we made it back to the championship, made the run. KD called it.
I think men's soccer should go on a run. They should just go ahead and just win them all.
They just go on a run all the way to the national championship.
No pressure.
Undefeated. Just win every game. How hard is that? Oh man. Anything else you want to talk about tennis?
No, I'm just very impressed with the tournament run. That was super cool.
Well, we're going to run back over to track and field then. We hit some of the highlights, but they had a pretty good showing at the Charlotte Invitational this past weekend. So we've got a couple of people talk about. Brooks Theus won the men's hammer throw, while Grady and Graham finished second in that event. So you got a guy who won it and then finished second. There were 17 top 10 finishes and 8 personal bests on Friday. So a lot of people, we're talking about that consistency again, right? A lot of people doing personal best, doing well. There were 3 herd victories on Saturday, with Mukhtar winning the men's high jump with his school record jump, actually. And then Cole Miller won the men's long jump, and Destiny Berryman won the women's 3K. And then there were several top 5 finishes, and then a couple of athletes also placed second all time for school records. So I don't have that list right in front of me, but you had people that were just, who broke the school records, and then several who were just bumping right up against them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not just the point you're trying to get across is like, it's not one athlete just out there just shining and everybody else is way down here. It's like several athletes pushing to break school records. So there's a cluster of current athletes pushing for record breaking times and distances. So that's what I mean. It's consistency. It doesn't always have to be one person. It could be this athlete this week, this athlete that week, somebody else doing it this week. It's just consistency from top to bottom. I mean, I don't even feel like they're top heavy. I feel like they're really there's just a collection of really good athletes that are continuing to develop, man. Some of these athletes will not peak for another couple of years, right? Because they're young, freshmen, sophomores, still growing into those bodies, still training, still reaching that potential. Records will continue to fall.
Yeah.
As many as we've seen fall already, more and more are going to fall. And it makes you wonder, like, when do we get to the point to where you can't break anymore without getting just phenoms?
Right. Well, I think at that point we're winning the Sun Belt, and we're doing some pretty crazy things. We did pick up we did sign somebody, a hurdler. It looks like Isaac Agee, he was formerly at WVU Tech, so local guy, originally from Hines, West Virginia. So picking up somebody else, hopefully, who's gonna make an impact and be consistent.
At Tech, wow.
Yeah,
I didn't even know they had a track and field team.
I didn't either. Hey, you learn something every day, man.
I hear you.
So last but not least, talk about track and field. They will be traveling to Lexington for the Jim Green Invitational this weekend, which means we will probably have a thing or two about that, and some lots to talk about and around the herd come next week. So
no doubt.
All right, let's go ahead and run on over to men's golf. Weather suspended the play at the Sun Belt tournament before finishing a day later. So, got it delayed, as Marshall unfortunately finished last as a team. This kind of was due to a disastrous first round for the team as a whole. They did improve through rounds 2 and 3, but that first round was just too hard to overcome. Leading the herd was freshman Jack Minatoli, and his outing mimicked the Marshall team in a way. He shot 15 over in the first round, but 2 under and then 3 under in the final 2 rounds. So just not enough to bring him back. So unfortunately,
you ain't coming back from 15 over.
No, you're not. So,
man, it must have been just a disastrous day one for the team then. I mean, if you just said that mimicked the team as a whole, so it must just have been a disastrous day one and then a better second and third day. But woo, that's a rough one. Dang.
Yeah, not a way you want to end your Sunbelt, Sunbelt.
Nowhere to go but up, Jed.
Hey, listen.
To go but up.
And that is the positive takeaway is nowhere to go but up. But they got some players. I mean, and we've talked about this with women's and the men's golf. They've got some players who at times can perform very well. One of the things I think they've lacked, and again, talking from somebody who's not a golfer. I mean, I go hit at a ball, but I'm not a golfer. Mm-hmm. And so I understand that I'm speaking from a point of ignorance here, but it goes back to your point. They've lacked consistency. Whereas we talked about track and field, they've had men's golf has lacked consistency. They've had some great highlights, great rounds, from some players. Just the team as a whole needs to be, working on that. And that's tough, man. That's tough with golf. I can tell you, I've played enough to know that I will never be consistent at golf.
So here's something I'm going to say that's going to sound like I'm going to make an excuse, but I'm not making an excuse. This is just something I believe. I think that Marshall is always going to climb uphill in golf against teams in a conference that live in the South that can just play all the time. I mean, even when it gets cold, it ain't that damn cold. It's not getting frozen over in southern Georgia, that type of thing. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's always going to be an uphill battle. Golf is far more of a big deal in the South than it is in West Virginia. And yeah, I get it. You're recruiting, but I just think you're going to have a tough time continually recruiting great golfers to consistently battle for a conference championship against teams that are recruiting those same players and they can just play in Georgia or Alabama or, the Carolinas or whatever. It's just a different animal. I feel like that's the biggest uphill battle of all the sports that we sponsor at Marshall is golf against teams in the South.
Well, in what local courses do we have that are, and I don't know about these other universities, what their courses are, is up to ours, but ours aren't. I mean, I'm not bashing anybody here, so don't get mad at me, but like our courses aren't cream of the crop. There's a reason why the avid golfers in our areas go down to the Carolinas.
They
travel to play good golf, because not that their courses are bad, but it goes to that point. If you're an avid golfer, you're going to a university to golf, and you're in the southern states, you've got some of the better courses, you got better weather. No, I agree with you.
Which goes back to that literal point is how important is maintaining the course for the quality of a course. It's paramount, right?
Yeah.
So if you can maintain your course to a certain degree pretty much all year round, as opposed to having at times a foot of snow and ice all over your course, well, that's kind of night and day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So again, it sounds like I'm making an excuse. It's not. It's just an observation. I think we're going to always be battling uphill to be competitive in golf as a program, men's and women's, in the Sun Belt.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they fared when we were in the MAC, but at least those guys were fighting the same animals. It's like courses freezing over in the wintertime and all that kind of stuff. So it's just an observation. That's all it is. It doesn't mean anything. It's just something I believe to personally be true.
Well, it's like, do you want to golf at Marshall or Eastern Michigan?
Well, I mean, I'm choosing the herd at that point.
I mean, it's, we're kind of the southern end of that.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. Get a little more warm weather, But yeah.
Not as bad. Yeah, I don't get the lake effects now, So anyway. Well, we're gonna take it on over to women's soccer. Beat University of Kentucky 2-1 in a spring exhibition game. So I think that's a really good. Again, I don't know how good Kentucky is on the women's side, but generally a school like Kentucky's really, really good on the men's side. I would figure they've put effort into the women's side of their program. So I think I would say that taking Kentucky and beating them 2-1 is a good sign for this women's herd team. So.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you're still looking. Well, I'm going to say an SEC school because I don't know if they play in the SEC in women's soccer or not. I don't know, but they're still getting SEC type money that flows into that university, and undoubtedly it trickles down to all sports, right? They're definitely not getting Sunbelt money; they're getting SEC money. So at some point, that's gonna, I mean, I'm looking at their record last year. In 2025, they were 12-4-5 overall.
Okay. Yeah, that's
pretty good. Yeah. So they were 10-3 at home last year. We went on the road and beat them, at their house. So, I mean, what does that ultimately mean? Nothing, because it's an exhibition game. But hopefully it's given a glimpse to this herd team that, like, okay, we can go into a place where this team generally doesn't lose and beat them.
Yeah.
So again, a positive is a positive. And when you're program building, like Rafa is doing, you take anything you can get to put another feather in that cap or step another rung higher on that ladder to get you where you need to be.
Absolutely.
He talked glowingly last year when I talked to him about being 2 years behind. He was like, man, I couldn't do much, when he got the job the first year. But he's like, you're recruiting as when they're juniors, and by the time we got the job and we're able to get everything going, it was like we'd already missed that recruiting. So, and then he got his first iteration of that last year, and we saw the turnaround. So now you're 2 years into that, plus you're now going to pick apart the portal where you can. Hey, man. Measuring stick game potentially, or measuring stick match potentially.
Yeah.
You go into Kentucky and get a win, and I don't care if it's an exhibition. Right? You're measuring who you are against other regional really good teams.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, and that's where we want to be, right? I mean, we want to be, we want to be that powerhouse. We want to be at just like the men's when they play Marshall, UK doesn't come into our house thinking that they're just going to run us over, on the men's side.
I don't think anyone, well, maybe one team does, but I don't think anybody literally comes in here with the attitude thinking we're just going to march into the vet and win.
No, this is always a game for most, if not all teams that we play. This is a circled game on the calendar.
Oh, for sure.
For a lot of teams. And so if we're going to compete at that level on the women's side, which I know that's what we're wanting to do, then you got to play these games against Kentucky and, games against these larger, better schools, generally speaking. And, if you're hanging with them and even beating them, even in exhibitions, that's a good sign, because that's where we want to be. We want to be NCAA tournament appearances, winning the Sun Belt.
Sure.
It's going to take high caliber play, and I like it. I like where this is going.
I mean, there's nothing to not like, honestly.
Yeah. But we're gonna swing on over to baseball. Won the series opener 7-4 against Troy, but just couldn't win the series at home. Lost the second game 8-2, and then man, what a tough one that last one though, losing 1-0. Just a very defensive game. Both teams I thought played very well defensively in that game. Just we could not get anything going offensively, unfortunately. So lose that series. Then we go on the road to Morehead State, losing that game too, 9-6 on a Tuesday midweek game. But we did go to Ohio, and we took it to them, and that's a team that of course, we always love to beat. And so we took it to them, beating them 5-2. So went on a bit of a skid here, but at least we got that win, and going back into Sunbelt play, looking to try to notch some more wins before the Sunbelt tournament.
Yeah, I think the only real bright spot that came out of that whole thing was Blevins tying the wins record. I mean, you get the first one against Troy, and then it's kind of downhill from there, and then it continued to go downhill at Morehead, and a little bit of a pick-me-up against the Bobcats, but
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Well, we get an opportunity. Sunbelt play. We're going to James Madison. Friday at 6, Saturday at 6, and then Sunday at 1. Looking to hopefully take that series. I would love to see a sweep there if we could do it. And then we do have a midweek game coming up. The final game of the WVU series will be Tuesday at 6 p.m. in Charleston. So, from what I understand, I think the Dirty Bird Stadium is sold out for that game. So should be pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, golly, man, there's a reason that we play each other 3 times. And some people might go, that's a lot of times. No, it's really not, because they're going to pack the house in Morgantown when we're there because they want to see their guys beat the snot out of our guys. And we're going to pack the house at the Jack because we want to see our guys beat the snot out of their guys. And they're going to sell it out in Charleston because people don't. There's a lot of people that can't drive to Morgantown or can't drive to Huntington, but they'll drive to Charleston. It's just it's a really perfect 3-game series. It's the oddball 3-game series. It's not a weekend set. It's one at your house, one at our house, and one on a neutral site. And that's awesome for this state, both these fan bases, to get 3 separate locations, 3 games on a midweek, something to do in the middle of the week. Cool, man. It's cool. That should never change.
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, we're going to keep it with Diamond Sports, taking it over to softball, and this will be our last and final sport to talk about and around the herd. We got to talk about some of the things, some amazing things, but the team as a whole will be playing for the regular season Sunbelt Championship, having already notched a win in that game tonight as we record, if I'm not mistaken, KD.
Oh, yeah.
Against JMU. So we've got 2 more games to play. That'll be as we record. If you listen to this on Friday, that'll be tonight at 5 p.m. and then Saturday at noon. And then it's down to Lafayette, Louisiana for the Sun Belt tournament on Wednesday.
Yeah, so I think the herd is in a battle with ULM, I believe, for the regular season championship. I think it's ULM, but Marshall has notched the first win of the series against JMU 7-3. Took 5 out of the yard today, so big offensive output. Couple of defensive gems. If you haven't seen the highlights from the game, Jed, the freaking game started with a highlight. I mean, the literal first out of the game was a SC top 10 worthy play. Later, the next defensive gem was out in left field with a beautiful diving grab in foul territory. Those are some of my favorite plays. Like back in many ages and decades ago when I was a baseball player, I was an outfielder, and I loved nothing more than the diving, sliding catch. Like that, I loved that. So as I grew up and watched that in the majors, and whenever I see it, that's one of my favorite parts of the game as a whole. And that's what we got in left field today. Beautiful catch, absolutely beautiful. And then you get home runs by Ava Blake, 2 by Burko to tie and break the record. Bella Gerlach sends 1 out. I think Diamond Leslie sent 1 out, and I cannot remember. Oh, is that all of them? Is that 5? That is 5. Yeah, Diamond and Bella, 2 by Burko and 1 by Blake. Yep, that's all 5. So big offensive day for the herd, man. Win 2 more. It's going to be real hard to put a lot of pressure to not capture that regular season title. So a lot on the line at the dot. Continue to pack it out this weekend. Give the girls all the mo that they need to go out there and capture this regular season title, because it's right there for the taking.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, KD, that's all I have for Around the Herd.
I got one more thing. I got one more thing. We just real quick. There was a very, I'm not going to call it cryptic, right? But there was a very nondescript type tweet put out by Marshall football with big set of eyeballs and looked like they were looking at a uniform. So maybe we might see some sort of uniform reveal, uniform drop tomorrow on social media Friday. So keep your eyes out for that. I mean, you can see the tweet if you go look at it. You know, it's like, what are they talking about? But it's just a player all dressed up, and it's zoomed in real close, so you really can't see anything. But nothing but eyeballs. So maybe we'll get us the 2026 uniform drop tomorrow. That might be
There you
pretty
go.
sweet.
Yeah.
So we can't get out of here without talking a little bit of herd football. So might get a little something to wet the palate even further for football season tomorrow.
Well, you'll get that, and before you know it, we're going into you guys will go into position group breakdowns, and I mean it'll be all about football here.
It is. I know. Soon enough, it'll be all we're freaking talking
all about football. Yep.
And herd fans rejoice.
Yes.
as these polls keep coming in, you know, like these national experts like USA Today did a re-ranking of their post-spring. They did a post-spring re-ranking of all FBS teams. Marshall came in at like 113. And I was like, there ain't no freaking way that Marshall's 113 with all that came back, you know. And then we got into a little discussion on social media, and I continually make this point. Russ makes this point. These national publications, do you think they're doing any research into our program before they just throw them on a ranking? No, they're not at all. I would argue that they're not researching anyone that they don't think has a legitimate shot to make a playoff, right? So there might be looking at 25 teams, maybe. And then everybody else, they're like, who left, who came back, and what was their record last year, and did they get a new coach? All right, you're 35th.
Right,
you know?
right.
So there's no way we're 113th with, we were 5-7 last year. We've talked about this before. 11 points away from being a 9-win team. Did it happen? No, but that's how close we were. So if this is a 9-win team, do you think they're going to rank this team 113th or 117th or whatever they were based on who all came back? We're not recruiting a team. We're freaking bolstering a roster. So I can't tell you where they are. Are they the 80th team? Are they the 60th team? Are they the 45th team? I don't know. I do know they ain't in the 110s. I know that. Yeah. So as these polls keep coming out and rage bait you to no end, just keep in the back of your mind that they don't know two shits about the herd the way that you're going to learn about them through the ThunderCast and position group breakdowns. Absolutely. Nobody's going to bring it to you better than we are.
Absolutely. And I can't wait for this series because then I get to sit back, put on my headphones, or listen in the car to you and Russ talk about it. That's great.
Well, we hope, right? But if you got anything else, let's have it, man. Otherwise, let's get out of here.
Let's get out of here, man. Now, whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Cam, whether you see us at the Jag, or whether you see us at the Dot cheering on our ladies to a Sun Belt season championship, wherever you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd. It's the ThunderCast. Sid Burko, can I have your autograph? We'll see you next week. Later.